I will not comment on anything. Just to start off with Afghanistan, because I know a lot of you have been, I know a number of you have been asking me questions about the very disturbing news that we're getting. Our colleagues on the ground at the UN mission in Afghanistan, UNAMA, received word of an order by the de facto authorities that bans female national staff members of the United Nations from working. We're still looking into how this development would affect our operations in the country, and we are expecting to have more meetings with the de facto authorities tomorrow in Kabul, which we're trying to seek some clarity. That being said, for the Secretary General, any such ban would be unacceptable and frankly inconceivable. This is the latest in a disturbing trend undermining the ability of aid organizations to reach those most in need. It goes without saying, but unfortunately it does need saying, that female staff members are essential for the United Nations to deliver life-saving assistance. Such orders, as we saw today, not only violate the fundamental rights of women and infringe upon the principles of non-discrimination. Female staff members are essential to ensure the continuation of the UN operations on the ground in Afghanistan. And just to give you a bit of an idea of the scope of the needs, out of a population of about 40 million people in Afghanistan, we're trying to reach 23 million men, women, and children with humanitarian aid. We will continue to pursue all avenues to ensure that we can reach the most vulnerable people, especially women and girls. Turning to the response to the earthquake in Syria and Turkey, in Syria, we're continuing to provide assistance to people most impacted by the quake in government-held areas, in government-controlled areas. We, alongside of our partners, have provided food and nutrition assistance to more than 221,000 people. That's in Aleppo, Latakia, Tartus, and Hama. In the Northwest, we've reached more than 360,000 people with $10.9 million in cash assistance. More than 1,200 trucks carrying aid provided by 7 UN agencies crossed into the Northwest area, Northwest Syria since February 9th through 3 available border crossings. Just to note that our 3-month flash appeal for the earthquake response in Syria is now 95% funded, so we thank donors for their generosity. And in Turkey, we, along with our partners, are continuing to support the government-held areas. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that so there's no... I'm just trying to do too many things at once. In Turkey, we and our partners are continuing to support the government-led response to the earthquakes. As of today, our $1 billion flash appeal for the Turkey earthquake response is 28% funded. We thank those donors for their support so far. However, without adequate resources, it will be challenging to maintain our response and reach all those in need. We urge all donors to step up and support this critical humanitarian effort. Turning to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, our humanitarian colleagues tell us that months of violence and insecurity in the eastern provinces of Ituri and North Kivu have put millions of people on the brink of major humanitarian catastrophe. In North Kivu alone, persistent fighting between the M23 armed rebel group and the Congolese armed forces has displaced more than 220,000 people. That's just in January and February alone of this year, bringing the total total number of displaced people since the violence broke out in March last year to over 880,000. More than half of these men, women, and children are living in precarious conditions in the cities of Nyiragongo and Goma and the surrounding areas. In Ituri province, there are 6.1 million internally displaced people in the country. 65% of them are in Ituri and North Kivu. Our colleagues say that violence is also spreading to parts of the country that had remained calm in the past years. This includes the western provinces of Mai-Ndombe and Kwilu, which have been plagued by intercommunal violence since June of last year. As a result of the violence, food insecurity is on the rise in a country that is already home to more than 26.4 million people who struggle to access enough food every day. Cases of malnutrition epidemics like measles and cholera are increasing, further stretching the humanitarian community's capacity to respond. We, alongside of our partners, are doing the best to mobilize, put in the increased needs, but the increasing needs are exceeding our response capacities, and there's an urgent need for all humanitarian organizations to scale up in areas where the needs are more critical, particularly in the East. The $2.25 billion appeal for the Democratic Republic of the Congo is only 10% funded. We urgently need cash. Turning to the other side of the world, in Papua New Guinea, our colleagues at the International Organization for Migration and humanitarian partners are helping with rapid assessment coordinated by the provincial authorities following the magnitude 7 earthquake that struck the Chambri Lake area in the remote East Sepik province yesterday. Those assessments may take some few days to be completed due to the remote location of the area and limited communications. The teams flying to Chambri Lake have to go by seaplane and then canoe to reach the most impacted areas. According to a new report published today by the World Health Agency, 1 in 6 people worldwide are experiencing infertility. This shows the urgent needs to increase access to affordable, high-quality fertility care for those who need. This is according to WHO, saying that at present in most countries, fertility treatments are largely funded out of pocket, often resulting in devastating financial cost. You just heard about mine awareness, but we do have a message for the day from the Secretary General, who says that broader global efforts are essential to safeguard people from mines. He urged member states to ratify and fully implement the Anti-Personnel Mine Ban Convention and the Convention on Cluster Munitions and the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons. He also called for action to be taken to an end of the threat of these devices of death, supported by communities as they heal, help people return and rebuild their lives in safety and security. This message will be played at the second UN Mine Action Day Symposium, which will be held today at 3 p.m. in the General Assembly building hall, and the message was shared with you. And tomorrow at 11:15 a.m., the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, will be joining us to virtually launch the 2023 Financing for Sustainable Development Report, Financing Sustainable Transformation. This is the 8th report of the Secretary General's Interagency Task Force on Financing for Development. The DSG will be joining us virtually, but we will be here in this very room to moderate. James and then Edie.
If the Taliban do not reverse their ban on women operating in the country, can the UN continue to operate?
I don't want to speculate about what will the orders that will definitely that may come out. As you may have seen in our last report on from the mission, we laid out pretty clearly our fears that this would actually come out. What is clear is that we cannot do it without women, right? The women are the backbone of our humanitarian operations there. We have almost 4,000 staff members. About 3,300 of those are local national staff. I'm trying to get a gender breakdown, but obviously, given the society and the culture, you need women to deliver aid to women. So we're staying in close contact and engaging the de facto authorities.
And one other question on the other news of the day. The former president of the United States is currently making his way from Midtown here down to the courthouse. He has said this is a tragic day for our republic. Many Republicans are supporting him. They say it's a politically motivated charge he's facing. Does the Secretary General have any concerns about the rule of law in the United States?
No. James. Edie, you should take off your mask. Edie, yes.
No.
Maybe that's the first time you've ever been called James. Yeah. Well, yeah.
That was pretty good, Steph.
Thank you.
A couple of follow-up questions on the Taliban announcement. Who did it come from? Did it say that this was going to take effect immediately?
We have no, as far as I understand it, we do not have anything in writing as of now. It was made clear to us in Jalalabad and its province that the order was going to be enforced. We were told, I don't want to say officially or unofficially as well through our contacts in Kabul, but we're going to have more meetings. Our colleagues in Kabul, the SRSG, the various deputies will be meeting with the de facto authorities tomorrow.
And would this affect the SRSG herself?
Well, the head of the peacekeeping of the political mission is appointed by the Secretary General in coordination with the Security Council. It's a mandate of the Security Council. We also very much hope that we will hear very strong voices from the Security Council. It is also the mission there operates under its mandate, but there's no discussion even regarding the senior leadership of the mission.
And you said that you heard about this in Jalalabad.
No, we've seen they were in Jalalabad. Things were made more official and clear to us through the local authorities there. We're trying to get more information from the de facto leadership in Kabul.
And were women actually working, women employed by the UN actually working today elsewhere in Afghanistan?
That's my understanding. That is my understanding from speaking to my colleagues in Kabul a couple of hours ago. Amélie.
Hi. Sorry, I'm not sure I understand completely because the UNAMA tweet only mentioned one province. You talked about an order to ban all local staff, female. So is the order including the whole country or only this one province? And is it? Is there any time frame on it?
No, let me put it this way. There was a much more official communication made in Jalalabad. We were told through various conduits that this applied to the whole country. As I said, we are meant to meet with our counterparts in the foreign ministry tomorrow, and we will have more details. But I think regardless of all of that, in a way, I think I've made the Secretary General in our position very clear. Maggie, and then Deji.
The Deputy Secretary General was very vocal about this concern when she spoke to us back in January when she came back from Afghanistan. Has she been on the phone to anybody that she met? Because she met the highest echelon
she's
of the
been
de facto authorities.
she's been on the phone with our colleagues in UNAMA. I don't know if she's had any direct contacts today with the de facto authorities.
And sorry, I had one other question. You said you're going to get us the numbers on gender breakdown,
Yes, ma'am.
right? Okay, thanks.
Deji.
A quick follow-up about the announcement. You said the UN has been worried about this for quite some time. Has the UN have any contingency plans for this?
I think the contingency plan is almost too tragic to even contemplate. We are going to continue to engage with the de facto authorities on this. Ibtisam, then Stefano, and then we'll go to the screen, and we'll come back.
Just a quick follow-up. So how is this exactly going to affect your work on the ground, whether delivering aid or?
As I said, it's very difficult to imagine how we deliver humanitarian aid without our female staff.
I have another question on Yemen. So the Security Council issued a statement welcoming the agreement between the Houthis and the government on the
Sorry, who issued the statement?
the Security Council related to the several issues, but welcoming also the agreement between the government and the Houthis on the release of the detainees. So my question here is, to which extent are you involved in this issue, the release of the detainees, and with...
Stop right there. I need to get an update from our Yemen team, which I didn't have a
So
chance
which
to
means
today.
also you don't have an update on the Safir tanker.
Safir tanker, things are moving. Things are moving. Exactly where and how, I will get you an update as well.
The 34 million more you needed?
I think things are. Let me stop answering without knowing fully for once. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, two questions.
Hold on,
No,
I
I
think
have a
Ibtisam's trying to.
That's okay.
She yields. Stéphane, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, thank
She
you.
doesn't yield. Go ahead.
So the I'm sure you saw probably the Human Rights Watch letter that was sent to the SG and the SG and the High Representative for the UN Alliance of Civilization regarding the definition of. It was not only a Human Rights Watch letter, but also signed by 60 groups, including Israeli groups, and it has to do with the definition of anti-Semitism by the IHRA. And they urge the SG to, or the SG and the Office of the UN Alliance of Civilization to take a position on this regard and to on the fact that the IHRA definition very often used against people who criticize the government of Israel and or pro-Palestinian, and taking into consideration also that some Israeli human rights organizations like B'Tselem and other groups did sign this letter. So what's your position?
Let me look at the letter and how we'll respond to it, and I'll get back to you on that. Stefano.
Yes, two questions. One about the children kidnapped or just moved in Russia. Tomorrow there will be a Security Council area formula on the subject. Today, in Geneva, the Human Rights Council voted a resolution that passed on they ask Russia to give access to these children so the UN and other organizations can understand what is the status of these children. So question is that actually a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I think you responded me that you were investigating, the UN was investigating the situation of these children. So what the Secretary General at the moment think? They've been kidnapped?
I would refer you to the most recent updates from the Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine, which spoke about this. We've expressed our concern, and I think it is very important that there be clarity on the status of these children. But I think our human rights colleagues and the mission in Ukraine has expressed itself on that.
So the Secretary General still doesn't have.
I would refer you to what they.
And then the second question is that today officially Finland is part of NATO. For the Secretary General, is this a good move for stability and peace in the world, or is it a dangerous move?
I mean, it's not for us to comment on the sovereign decision of Norway to join NATO and NATO countries to accept it. Finland, thank you for paying attention. Norway's already been in. Norway, they also made a sovereign decision. This is not my date today. It's what happens when we're an hour and 10 minutes late. Iftikhar.
Thank you, Steph. All the questions about Afghanistan have been asked and answered. But, Steph, the Secretary General usually visits an Islamic country during the month of Ramadan. Where does he plan to go and observe fast there?
Very good. That is a very good observation, Iftikhar. There will be a Ramadan solidarity trip, and we will announce it when we are ready to announce it. But there will be one, so watch this space.
Which country?
That's why I said watch this space. Obviously, you know, the location and security issues often dictate when we're able to announce a trip. James.
Yes. So you already asked about the meeting that's taking place tomorrow. There is an ARIA meeting of members of the Security Council. The issue is about children from Ukraine who now find themselves in Russia. As you know, some say that they have been abducted illegally. We're hearing, and the Russian mission has still not put out its list of speakers for tomorrow, that they are likely to ask as a briefer Maria Luva-Belova, who is the Russian Children's Commissioner, who was indicted, or who was issued an arrest warrant at the same time as the President of Russia. Does the Secretary General think it is appropriate for her to address the United Nations? As I say, we don't have the list of speakers. We believe she is being invited. I'm assuming she's not coming in person, but would she even be allowed here if she does try to come in person?
Given that the list hasn't been issued, and I won't comment on it, but what I will underscore is that whether a person is here in person or remotely at an ARIA formula meeting, it is under the responsibility of the organizers of the meeting.
Yeah, but I mean, I've been reading the negotiated relationship agreement between the International Criminal Court and the United Nations. The United Nations does have actually responsibilities. If the court seeks to exercise its jurisdiction of a person who's alleged to be criminally responsible for a crime, the UN must cooperate fully with the court. I mean, is it cooperating fully to let someone who's got an arrest warrant attend the UN, even if it's virtually?
I'm not going to get into any more detail until we have more details.
Well, could you try and get me an answer to that question? Yeah. Because it is a question about that agreement and whether her attendance here is a breach of that agreement. I have one. I'm going completely different direction now, if you don't mind.
Do I have a choice?
Neighbourhood Midtown East News. The big plot of land.
Yeah.
Right down there, next to the UN, very nearby, there are plans to redevelop it, and those plans have recently changed. There's a proposal for there to be a casino. Clearly, with any planning application, one has to take the views of one's neighbour. The UN is by far the most important organisation in the neighbourhood. Does the Secretary General believe there should be a casino on the United Nations doorstep?
Look, let's see where we are in the planning process. New York City has been an amazing home, an amazing host city to the United Nations, to all of us who work here, to all of you who cover the UN. We've always broadly been made to feel very welcome, and we do hope that the architectural integrity of this compound and this neighborhood will be preserved. Deji.
I have several questions on Syria. According to Syrian national media, Israel attacked Syria again, and this time it caused deaths of 2 civilians. It's been the 4th attack in a week from what reported Israel to Syria. So any response from the Secretary General on this series of incidents?
Questions on the same topic?
Not really.
Okay. Oh no, that's fine. I'm just listen. We've I think always expressed our concern about these reported airstrikes, and we again call on all parties to abide by their obligations under international law and urge them to exercise maximum restraint to prevent further regional escalation.
Yesterday, when the Russian ambassador Nebenzia answered the question from Abdulhamid, he said these kind of attack is inadmissible. Does the UN agree with that wording?
I'm not here to provide commentary on answers from ambassadors. I've expressed to you what our position
But
is.
it's interesting that according to what I know, Israel started airstrikes and attacks on Syria. Sometimes they announce it, sometimes they don't. They don't. Should the UN urge Israel at least to publish their reason for these kinds of attacks?
What we want is for all of the parties who have an impact on the situation in Syria, not to do anything that would further escalate regional tensions.
So hold on, I have two more questions on Syria. Sorry. So this one is de-escalation of tensions in Syria, I guess, because the Russian, Turkey, Iranian, and Syrian deputy foreign minister just concluded their meetings in Moscow to try to reestablish diplomatic ties between Turkey and Syria. So they said they have a very frank exchange of
Views.
of opinions, and they reach consensus to continue engage. Any response? No. Okay. So one last question. The United States military says its force had killed a senior leader of ISIS in Syria, and no civilians were killed or injured in that raid. Just curious, does this coalition had any mandate from the UN to do that?
I really have nothing further to say on this. Okay. Thank you all.